Hello, this is Andrine, Jewish American Priestess, and today I'm going to bring you a reading about where we're rooting in at this time of year. And there goes my random chime saying the Shekhinah is here to help us in this endeavor. We're finding where we're rooting in, and we're going to do 3 readings today. Let's see, we're going to pull some objects over here to guide us into our reading. I have a crow feather. That'll be object number 1. I have a porcupine quill. That'll be object number 2. And then let's bring out, this is a poppy pod. That'll be object number 3. So take a moment to determine which of these 3 objects is calling you today to talk about rooting in. Again, number 1 is our crow feather. Number 2 is the porcupine quill. And number 3 is the poppy pod. And I will put the timestamps down below, and I'll take you straight to your reading to discuss what are we rooting into right now as we go into this time of darkness. This is a timeless reading, but if you're watching it right now as we head into the later time of the month of Cheshvan in November, and you're interested in purchasing a set of the Hebrunes, I do have them on sale right now at my Etsy shop. There'll be a link down below. And if you use the coupon code JEWICH, you can also get free shipping. So enough about that. Let's move into the reading, and I will see you there. Hello, object number 1. Those of you who chose the crow feather, you may know the crow is sort of a magical, mystical bird that talks about magic and bringing messages to people. And so here we are, this message at this time of year about rooting in. What are we rooting into right now? Things are dark, and it gets dark early, and we're moving below the surface right now, and we can't always see what's growing underneath. So we're going to do a reading to help us to figure out what's rooting right now for us. And I have these Hebrunes. This is Hebrunes that are they just got engraved. This is liquid amber or sweet gum, and it's the first time I've used them, so let's give them a shuffle. And then we're going to pull out 7 total, but let's start with 3, and then we'll do 3 more, and then we'll do 1 more at the end. We'll start with what's coming down from above. What's the message coming down from the divine right now? And we have the letter Resh at the top. What is known about our situation? We have Tzadi. What is unseen about our situation? We have the Dalet. Okay, well, let's just start there. So coming down from above, we have the letter Resh, and of course the letter Resh is the first letter of the word Rosh, meaning head. So it speaks to a new beginning that is coming in, like the word Rosh Hashanah or Rosh Chodesh, which means the head of a new thing, a beginning of a new thing. And it's also in the first word of Torah, Bereshit, in the beginning. So it's about seed and barrenness. There's a binary transformation in the Sefer Yetzirah of each of the letters, many of the letters, in fact. Resh is the letter that represents seed and barrenness. And we're in this time, the seed time, but we're in the rooting time of the seed right now in the year. So the seed has been planted in the late fall, and now the roots are starting to be established. So we've got this brand new thing that's coming in, and the seed, we have to see whether or not that seed will bear fruit. We can't always know that. And in fact, when the seed is underneath the ground, we can't see whether that root is being planted or growing at this point. So that's where we are right now. That's what's coming down from the divine. The Resh being affiliated with the head is also has this concept of intellect with it, or thought. And it's also, some say that it looks like a bowed head. Someone is bowing their head, so there's a little bit of humility, or maybe somebody who is been humbled. The word Rosh means one who is poor, or maybe humiliated, a poor person who has had their fortune taken from them. So there's a bowed head here also. Resh is the letter that's affiliated with the day Thursday in the week. And it's interesting because it's Thursday evening as I'm doing this reading right now. I don't know when you're going to be watching it. But it's also affiliated with the planet Mercury, so it's about communication. Mercury is, of course, having to do with messages coming in. Like I said, with the crow is also a messenger. So maybe a message is coming down from the divine. And in my reading of the Hebrunes, I affiliate the letter Resh with the matriarch Rachel. Rachel was the bride of Yaakov, Jacob, one of the patriarchs, and she is one of the matriarchs. She had a problem with barrenness. And we've been studying her a little bit in one of the classes I'm taking right now. She had this issue of really wanting to have children, but she wasn't able to at first. So it's difficult to know what's going to come out of any kind of seed that's being planted right now. And I guess that's the message that's coming down from above, is right now a new beginning is starting. We can't see whether that seed is being planted in the ground or whether it will be barren. All we can do is wait, be humble, remain ready, not to get our heads too wrapped up in it, but to communicate effectively what it is we'd like to see show up for ourselves, regardless of whether that seed puts down roots or not. And the communication coming down from the divine is, a beginning has started. And something is, just starting right now. What is known about our situation in the lower right corner, we have the letter Tzadi. And Tzadi is the letter that represents justice. It's the first letter of the word tzedek, meaning justice, or tzadik, meaning a righteous person. And it's also affiliated with the word tza'id, meaning hunting. So we're seeking something right now. We're looking for something. Tzadi is also the letter that is affiliated with the month of Shvat. And Shvat is the month that we celebrate the New Year of the Trees, Tu B'Shvat. You can see it looks a little bit like a tree. And it's got that kind of land here, and then the trunk going up and some branches coming off of it. And I love that with regards to the seed, because we don't know whether that's bringing fruit or not, but we have this tree that's growing up here. Tzadi is also affiliated with the tribe of Asher. Asher was the son of Zilpah, who is one of Yaakov's other wives. He was married to Leah, and she had a handmaid, Zilpah. And Zilpah gave birth to some of the children. And when Zilpah's son was born, Leah said that she was happy, that she would be seen as happy, celebrated by the women. So she gave the child the name Asher, which derives possibly from Asherah. It certainly has the same root as Asherah, which means the feminine divine who is revered through the trees. So we have some kind of potential for growth and righteousness here, some kind of sacred justice that's coming. There's also association with tzedakah, which is often translated as charity, but I think of it as mutual aid. So as we're planting the roots, we can't see, especially in the wintertime when those branches are bare, what's happening underneath the ground. So what we know is that there is a tree, and that tree is the feminine divine, and regardless of whether we can see fruit happening or roots growing right now. We know that beneath the surface, the Asherah is here, the feminine divine, offering us justice and righteousness as we are hunting through right now for something, some kind of justice. So that's what's known right now. And that which is unknown is in the lower left corner, we have the letter Dalet. Dalet is the 4th letter of the alphabet, and it represents a doorway. So we're in this liminal space, and what's unseen right now is that gate that we're passing through. Dalet also has an affiliation with humility, very much like Resh. They look similar in some ways, although the Dalet has this tail off the edge here. The Dalet is, the word Dal means poor and humble. So we've got this humbleness here again. So some kind of humility or humbleness is unseen right now. The number 4, of course, can correspond to the 4 directions and the 4 elements of earth, air, fire, and water, and the 4 seasons themselves of winter, spring, summer, and fall. So there's a wholeness that comes with the Dalet. And it is this gate, this humility, and this binary transformation of wisdom and foolishness. So we're passing through a gate of some sort that maybe we can't see, but we have to hold on to what is righteous with the tzadi and choose wisdom over foolishness when we come through that doorway and see what direction to turn. The Dalet also is affiliated with the delta, in Greek, the delta of Venus, which is the female genitalia, the birth canal through which all things are born. When a head comes through from Resh, we have the Dalet here receiving it and ushering it through into the world. So we have a new beginning. We can't see the opening yet, but it's underneath the surface. It's underneath the surface, and justice is being served, being transformed with the Asherah. Let's pull out 3 more letters and see what else comes up. At the bottom is the root of the situation, or what is coming up from below, what is supporting us right now. And we have Ayin at the bottom. In the upper left corner is what is the fear or challenge in this situation. And we have the letter Beit. And in the upper right corner, what is our advice for how to handle things right now? And our advice is Lamed. Very nice. So at the bottom, what is rooting our situation here? What is supporting us from beneath? The letter Ayin is the letter that means an eye. So being watched over by divinity. You can see it looks a little bit like 2 eye stalks with the coming back on the optic nerve to meet behind the brain here. And some say it looks like a little bit of like an eye if you turn it sideways as well, like makeup of that wicked eye makeup. So Ayin is this eye, and it means being able to see our way forward, having good vision about what's happening, but also being watched over by divinity. So what's supporting us right here, coming up from the earth, is this being able to see. Maybe we're getting glimpses at what the roots are beneath the surface. And I love that Ayin looks like it's got a root going down into the ground already. We're being watched over by divinity. It's affiliated with the tribe of Dan, and Dan means judgment. So there's something that is, we're being able to discern properly with our vision. And Ayin is also the number 70 in Gematria, so it has this affiliation with a big ending. The number 7 corresponds to the 7 days of creation, but it's 7 times 10, so it's a really big ending. And that seems to be supporting us. And we're coming to, we've just come to the end of the Jewish year, the beginning of the Jewish year. We're coming to the end of the Gregorian year in a month or so. So there's some big ending that's coming, and maybe some other ending that's coming in your own personal life that requires some form of judgment, that you're making some discernment about which way to go, that you'll be able to see appropriately which direction to turn, because you have this divine sight, because you have some kind of vision, and that you are being watched over by the divine. And in the Sefer Yetzirah version that I read, Ayin is affiliated with a foundation of laughter. And I love this because Ayin is about seeing and judgment, which can be a little bit scary, but when we finally are able to see clearly and can make good distinctions, then we can laugh about it. In the end, when we come to the completion of the big thing, that there will be some laughter. So find joy right now that will support you in this endeavor of the making of the roots underneath it all. The upper left corner is the position of what is it that is a challenge or a fear right now. We have the letter Beit. Now, Beit is the letter that means house or home. So maybe there's some difficulty happening in your home or your place in it. I think of Beit as not necessarily being a building, but where it is we dwell. So it could be that you're dwelling in a particular house, amongst a certain community, or it could be just our place in the earth right now. Where do we dwell on the planet? Maybe it's just our bodies are challenging right now. We dwell in our bodies regardless of where we go on this planet. Beit is the binary transformation of life and death. So how do we reconcile life and death right now? That could be absolutely challenging, and there's a fear around it. It can be also affiliating with the new beginning at the same time, because it is the first letter of Torah. And Bereshit, we've got the Resh up here. This is the first letter, the B that comes before Resh. So in the beginning, when we have that showing up right next to the Resh, it could be that we're afraid of this beginning. We're afraid of the thing that's starting, that we're not sure what's going to happen. Beit also rules over the day of Shabbat, which is a day of rest. Maybe we're having a challenge resting right now. I know I certainly have been. And it also rules over the planet Saturn in the sky. So there's a lot going on here with the Beit. There's so many things that it could be asking about. Home, house, our body, our planet. Where is something beginning? Are we getting adequate rest? Are we speaking adequately? It's also the mouth in the body, so it could be about our mouths. What are we taking into our mouths? What are we saying out of our mouths? And I affiliate Beit with the matriarch Sarah, because she welcomed guests into our home. And she also made her home wherever she was. They were, transient or itinerant when Sarah was the matriarch. So a lot going on here to be concerned about, that we might have fears or challenges around. Something to do with home, something to do with that binary of life and death. Can we find a place where we feel at home so that we can feel that this beginning is nothing to fear? So our advice for the time right now is the Lamed. And we have the Lamed coming in. It's the first letter of the word Lev, which means heart and mind, heart-mind. In ancient times, the heart and the mind were not seen to be separate things. And the Lamed is this fabulous letter that reaches above the line. It's the only one in Hebrew that reaches above the line, which says that it is aspiring toward connection with the divine. And I love that it looks a little bit like the earth here and the root growing down and a sprout coming up. So with a reading about rootedness, it seems really appropriate that our advice here is to root down into what we're doing and reach up for connection with divinity as we're moving forward. The Lamed is the letter that begins the word limud v'lamed, so it means learning and teaching. And so we learn things and then we turn around and teach them to others. And that's one of the ways that we can use our heart mind in the situation. That's maybe what we're supposed to do as we are try to find our way through this rooting situation. Lamed is also affiliated with the digestive system, and I love that it looks a little bit like a digestive tract with this esophagus and then this organs here and then the excretion down at the bottom. So it has to do with the intestines in the body. And to that end, I think of it as being about discernment, that we take something in, we determine what is useful and what is not, and then release that which is no longer serving us. It is the letter that is affiliated with education. And so, again, taking in information, determining what is useful, and releasing the rest. And that can be about news items or education, spiritual education, whatever it is that you are receiving, gossip, God forbid. But like if you're taking in some information, if somebody's giving you something, then it's important for you to discern what is useful and what isn't, and to give up to the divine what it is that you are trying to discern. That will give you the ability to see with the ayin down here at the bottom your way forward, and planting those roots. Again, whether we can see the roots growing or not, it's important to plant ourselves steadily where we are in the moment, and then reach up with hope for divinity. So aspiration here, and really listening into your heart and mind. So really lovely advice for a rooting. Okay, we're going to pull out one more letter. It's kind of our outcome letter about these roots that we're growing right now. What is the outcome for those who chose crow feather? And we have the letter Tet. Okay, so our outcome is the letter Tet, and Tet is a container. It's some kind of basket or cup that's holding goodness within it. Tet is the first letter of the word Tov, which means good. And you can see it looks a little bit like a container. It can also be perceived as a womb space. So there's some gestation that's happening, that there is something good being held within this womb space, that we have maybe some time to wait, which makes sense because we are just heading into the darkness. Seeds are planted in darkness. Human seeds are planted inside of wombs. And again, we can't see growth all the time, but goodness is being held within here. Tet also is the letter that is representative of a snake. You can see it looks a little bit like a snake with that tail curving around. And the snake is an ancient symbol for the goddess, about transformation. So Tet is the letter that's talking about shedding skin and starting something, new, that growth has to happen by shedding skin, and we can move forward in that. And the goddess is here. Tet is the number 9 in Gematria, so it refers to that 9 months of gestation in the body. And so we have this renewal idea here. It is the letter that's affiliated with the tribe of Simeon. So it has to do with hearing and listening. So our outcome here is that we'll be able to hear better. That we'll be able to, if we can spend some time in gestation, we can really listen in and find the goodness in the situation, even though it may seem dire. So this is a beautiful reading for those of you who chose crow feather. So just to go over again what we have here, we have the Resh coming down from above, a new beginning. Something is being planted. We don't know whether there's seed or barrenness here. That we planted a seed, but we don't know whether it's going to be barren or not. So here we are starting a new thing. We have justice and with the tzadi here, with this tree that is affiliated with the Asherah. So divinity is here giving us the ability to discern justice in the situation. What we can't see is the doorway. We can't see the birth canal yet, that the seed is still gestating, that we don't know how to get through that doorway. But the doorway is there, whether we can see it or not, and that's important to remember. that underpinning the whole thing is sight, that we're being watched over by divinity. Something large may be coming to an end, but we'll be able to see our way forward. And even though it's challenging right now to find comfort in our homes, in our bodies, maybe in our country, in the world itself, this new beginning that is the Beit and the Resh together is a challenge, but there's Shabbat. There's the ability to rest, and you should take the chance to rest when you can. Our advice is to plant ourselves, reach up with heart to the divine, and to discern and determine whether what we are receiving is worthy of taking to heart or whether we need to discard it and release it. And the outcome here is a gestation, goodness within, a shedding of the skin, that there is something that's being implanted in this womb and that it will be good. And so our roots, although unseen, are solid here underneath everything. This new beginning is nothing to fear. That there will be goodness that comes from it. So that's our reading, and I hope you found it interesting and useful. For those of you who chose the crow feather, this has been your reading, and I hope to see you here next time. Hello, those of you who chose the Porcupine Quill. It's a beautiful quill, and it's got the different colored stripes on it. The porcupine has this great defense, but only uses it in defense. It's not an attacking animal. So as we're dealing with how to find our roots, remember that it's important to defend but not attack right now. For those of you who chose the Porcupine Quill, and we're going to do a Star of David reading, which is to say we're going to lay down 3, and then we'll lay down 3 more, and then a final at the end. So let's just start with what is coming down from above. What's coming down from the heavens, from divinity, however you perceive it. And at the top of our reading, we have the letter Gimel. In the lower right corner is the position of what is known about our situation right now. We have the letter Beit. In the lower left corner, we have what is unseen about our situation right now. And we have Tav. Okay, let's start with those 3. So at the top we have the letter Gimel, and the letter Gimel is a camel or a foot, and it is the number 3 in Gematria. It's about walking forward, a forward movement, and the determination between what is whole and what is broken. So what's coming down from above right now is moving forward. How do we move forward? And a lot of times rooting is necessary to move forward. Are we running forward in not allowing ourselves to put down roots? Are we running away from our problems, or are we running toward justice? Gimel is the letter that rules over the planet Jupiter in the sky. Jupiter, which in Hebrew is tzedek, meaning justice. So there is something here about moving toward justice and finding the wholeness of a situation and turning away from that which is evil or wicked. I think of Gimel as corresponding to like the Garden of Eden and that tree of knowledge of good and evil. And those are, our myths that we talk about. But there's something that is about the justice of that situation that we, the story goes that the woman ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But there's a lot of backstory that we're not hearing, I think, about that situation. That in fact, it's important to know the difference between good and evil, and that the punishment that came from that is possibly unjust. So how are we moving forward? How are we finding our way forward? Or is it the divine is asking us to move forward, that we can't put down roots right now because it's time for us to run. It's time for us to move. Let's move on and see what the next letters say. What is known about our situation is the letter Bet, and the letter Bet is the letter that means home. We have ourselves in a home situation. This is about the house, where we live, where we dwell, maybe where we study or work or pray. It is the binary transformation of life and death. So it's like the other tree in the garden, which is the tree of life. Or in the case of not being able to eat of it, the tree that will cause us to die. But both trees come from the same rootstock, and that's an important thing to remember, that the Asherah, the divine feminine, is the basis, the root of all of these trees right now. So what we know about our situation is that there's these apparent binaries that exist, that we need to find a place where we can understand the wholeness rather than the brokenness of the situation. And what we do know right now is that we are dwelling here on this planet. We are dwelling in our homes, we are dwelling in our bodies, and that we need to understand that that is a safe and sacred place for us to be. That our bodies are going to help us to determine what's the next step. The next step with that gimel at the top. That we have to take a step, and that our body is here to help us to understand better what that step might be. I affiliate the letter Bet with the matriarch Sarah. Sarah, who was the one who was able to make her home wherever she was. So even if one is on the move with the gimel, home can be wherever you are. You can put down roots in your heart in order to feel at home, no matter if you have to travel or not. So that's something that we need to know, that the earth is our dwelling place, that the home is our body, that we take it with us wherever we go. What is unseen or unknown in the situation in the lower left is the letter Tav. And Tav is the letter that is the final letter. So the final letter of the alphabet. And some say that it's a completion letter, right? So it's the final letter of the alphabet, but some say that it's a stamp or a seal, that it's not actually the letter, it's more of a signature of the divine at the end here. So there's something that's being stamped or sealed that we can't see, something that is unknown or unseen, that is about a finality that is coming. But the ending of a thing always portends the beginning of a next thing, so some kind of renewal that's happening with the Tav. Tav is the letter that is the binary transformation of sovereignty and slavery. So where on that continuum are you right now? Are you feeling like you are sovereign in yourself, in your body? Or are you feeling enslaved to your situation or your place in the world? I think of Tav as being also a part of our body, and that past generations have been stamped onto our DNA as we move through life. And that there is this, some say that this looks like a dalet and a nun together, so it spells din, which means judgment. So there's a final judgment that's happening here. That there's some kind of ending that's bringing a judgment that we don't know, a death perhaps, or a transformation at least into something new that we can't see yet. And Tav is the letter that rules over the moon in the sky. So, and the moon is all about transformation. The moon is about changing daily and monthly and over and over again. So the thing that we can't see is this ending and a new beginning coming in afterwards. Let's pull out 3 more letters and see what else we have. At the very bottom of the reading, we have the Tzadi. That's the position of what's underpinning us here. In the upper left is the fear or the challenge of our situation. And we have the letter Nun. And in the upper right is what is our advice for now as we're looking at this whole picture. And we have the letter Kaf. All right, Tzadi at the bottom. It's interesting, we had that in the first reading, not in the same position, but The tzadi is a letter that means justice. Tzedek is the first letter, tzadi is the first letter of the word tzedek, which means justice, or tzadik, which means righteous person. And the tzadi is the letter that's about searching, hunting for something, tzaid, and also tzedakah, which means mutual aid or charity. So, and it's the number 90 in Gematria. So, and Sarah, the matriarch, was 90 years old when she was become pregnant with Yitzhak. 90 is 10 times 9, 9 being the letter tet, meaning gestation. So a very, very long, very old gestation. And this ultimate manifestation of goodness, tet is the first letter of the word tov. So we have this very long gestation that brings us to a place of solidity and justice. Tzadi is the letter that's affiliated with the month of Shvat, which is the month in which we celebrate the birthday of the trees, Tu B'Shvat. And it's the month that is affiliated with the tribe of Asher. Asher meaning happy, but also the same root as the word Asherah, who is the divine feminine goddess who is revered by worship or reverence in the trees. So underneath all of this, I love that we have the tzadi here saying that the divine feminine is holding us up with her trunk and branches. And even though the branches may be bare right now, there is a solid foundation that is holding us up from beneath, that the earth has got our back, the earth is holding us. The tzadi also looks a little bit like the letter nun with a yud on its back. Nun being the letter that's about humility, and yud being the first letter of the divine name, the yud he vav he, the becoming one. That yud being a seed. So we have a seed, we have humility, and out of that grows this mighty tree of justice. And that's what's underneath everything here in this reading today. For those of you who chose Porcupine Quill. So we seem to have some roots going on, even if we're moving, even if our home is having to move with us. And even if there's an ending that's unseen, the tree is right at the bottom of our reading, the tree of justice. In the upper left corner, we have the letter nun, and nun is the letter that's about humility. It's the first letter of the word ne'aman, which means someone who is humble. And it's also the first letter of the word nes, meaning miracle. This is the fear or challenge. So the fear or the challenge is, how do we remain humble? It's also the foundation of locomotion. So it's one of those moving letters like the gimel. The gimel is about moving forward. The nun is also about moving forward, but it's a much more paced movement, like a slow, steady start that then continues to gain momentum as it goes along. And nun is also about faithfulness or loyalty. So a more gradual, consistent endurance that's coming with the nun. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge to stay faithful. It's a challenge to stay moving forward when things are hard right now. If we're trying to put down roots, how do we move forward? This is a really big conundrum. And nun is the letter that's affiliated with this month of Cheshvan right now. Cheshvan is the constellation Scorpio, and it's a dark month. It's a month where we don't really have a lot of holidays until the very, very end. There's a holiday Tsigd that comes at the end, and it's an Ethiopian holiday about receiving Torah and rebuilding the temple. So we need to maintain our humility while we wait for the miracle, and it's a little bit tricky right now because we're, in this motion, this movement that we're being told, move forward but find your home, move forward but remain grounded. How do we do both of those things at the same time? And our advice in the situation is the letter Kaf. And the letter Kaf is the letter that is about the palm of a hand. It looks a little bit like a palm of a hand. So it's about giving and receiving. How do we give appropriately so that we are not overextending ourselves? And how do we receive assistance when we require it without feeling like we're taking too much? And since it is the binary transformation of wealth and poverty, it's this give and take letter. So the advice here is give what you need to give and take what you need to take. Don't overdo it in either way. Kaf is also about things that are on top of the head. It's about keter, which means crown, and kippah, which is hat, and power, koach. So it can be about oppression, but I'm not guessing that it's saying that you should oppress others, but to find your sovereignty, to feel like you are being held up by the hand of the Shekhinah, the indwelling presence, to extend your hand when it seems appropriate, to both give what you need to give and receive what you need to receive. It's the letter that rules over the sun in the sky. So we have opposite here, the moon and the sun. So we need to find our way into the sunlight in order to get the energy we need from that source power, but not be in the sun so long that we get burned and it harms us. So that balance is really what it's about, is the giving and receiving. And I see Kaf is affiliated with the patriarch Yitzhak, who was bound hand and foot in Torah when he was taken up by Abraham to the mountain to be sacrificed. So it's interesting that we have Yitzhak here, as well as the idea of Yitzhak here with the tzadi and the matriarch Sarah, who was pregnant at age 90, and Sarah here with the letter Beit, maintaining her home. So we have Yitzhak and Sarah here, and they're an important mother-son combination of finding our way in love without sacrificing, and finding our way to, create roots, to create progeny. I heard a midrash recently that Sarah, when she was unable to become pregnant, and Abraham took her to Egypt and said, "This is my sister, not my wife," that it's possible that the Pharaoh or Avimelech, the son of the king, is the father of Yitzhak. But one does what one needs to do in order to be creative, So this is using one's power, koach, to do what one needs to do to survive, to have the strength to do what one needs to do, to move forward, to make your home where you are, and plant your roots and know that you're supported by the divine, but remaining humble in all situations. Let's pull out one more letter for our center and find out what our outcome here is about the roots. How are we doing this? How are we balancing all of this? Let's see, one more message. And we have the letter Het. Beautiful. So the letter Het is the letter that begins the word Chai, meaning life. It's the first letter of the word Choshek, also meaning darkness. And it's the first time it shows up in Torah is in the word Choshek, meaning darkness, which is to say that's an important word. Darkness isn't necessarily bad. It is just the absence of light or the opposite of light. In fact, you can't see light without darkness. You don't know that there's anything else. So the darkness is an essential part. It's like the yin and yang of the divine. There is darkness, there is light. I love that with the Porcupine Quill. You have both darkness and light here. So our answer here is embrace your shadow self in order to embrace life, in order to embrace Chai. Het is about contracts and covenants. It's the number 8 in Gematria, so it's got to do with the 8th day after a child's birth, with a circumcision, a brit milah for a boy child, and a naming ceremony for a girl child, generally, historically. So there's this covenant that's tied up in here, and also the 8 days of Hanukkah, which is about dedication or rededication of the temple. And it's the number that represents infinity. So 7 days of creation, and then we have one more, which is this infinite potential for moving forward. It's the rest of eternity after the creation. It's affiliated with the chuppah, the marriage canopy, so another contract one might make. and also the tribe of Reuven. And so it has to do with fertility. Reuven was the son of Leah, and he brought the mandrakes, which were about fertility and bringing new life into the world. Mandrakes, which are a kind of root, in fact. So when we're talking about roots and how to plant them, it's about, again, finding that balance between life and darkness, about finding that balance between forward motion and stability, about finding that balance between give and take, and endings and new beginnings. So for those of you who chose the Porcupine Quill, we have this message coming down from above saying, step forward into justice, step forward into some forward momentum, find the difference between, good and evil, or wholeness and brokenness. But know that you are home wherever you go. Know that you take your body with you, that you live on this planet, that the matriarch Sarah was able to make her home wherever she was, and you also have that ability. That what we don't see is something is coming to an end, that there's some kind of judgment, some kind of stamp or seal on the situation, and that there will be this judgment, and that the moon, like that, transforms over and over again. So even though something's coming to an end, a new beginning is coming right afterwards. Underpinning everything in the reading is the tzadi, justice, the tree, the asherah, the humility with divinity at its back that is supporting you through all of these transitions, that roots are planted whether you can see them or not, that the tree of life and the tree of good and evil come from the same rootstock here, which is the divine feminine Asherah. That we have a little bit of fear or challenge around humility. How do we remain humble? How do we move forward slowly? How do we see the miracle in the transitions that are happening? Because they're hard to see right now in the darkness. And that we have this advice to give and take, to find balance, to find our power, to know that we are held up by the hand of the divine and sheltered over by the hand of the divine, that the sun comes up and goes down every day, and that we can lean on that, we can trust in that. And our outcome here is life and the shadow and the darkness, that we have the ability to make those contracts and commitments and really lean into the infinite, that the infinity loop is here and it's still continuing to come, that we have the ability to set down roots and know that growth is coming underneath all of it. So for those of you who chose Porcupine Quill, with this darkness and light balanced here on this, you also have the ability to balance and find darkness and light coming together into something beautiful and protective for you. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will look forward to seeing you here next time. Hello, those of you who chose the poppy pod. This is a skeleton of a poppy flower. And as you know, poppy seeds are, representative of relief of pain, and this little sprinkles of like seeds that, can grow into something quite beautiful. Tiny little seeds. Usually put them on my challah. And the opium poppy is also known about taking away pain from those who have been severely injured. So ideally, I'm hoping you're not having any pain right now, but if you are, maybe this reading will help you get some relief. I'm going to set the poppy pot up there, and we're going to start by pulling out 3 letters, and then we'll do 3 more, and then a final at the end. First letter is, what's coming down from divinity right now? What is it that is our first message from above? And we have the letter Beit. In the lower right corner, we're putting a letter that is what is known about our situation. And we have the letter Resh. In the lower left, what is unknown about our situation, but is there nonetheless. And we have the letter Tet. Okay, so We're getting some of the same letters from the previous readings. You're seeing me shuffle them, so you know that's happening, but the zeitgeist is what it is. So coming down from above, we have the letter Beit, and Beit is the letter that means house or home. And it coming down from above says that you are home now, here where you are, that it is okay to put down roots. The Beit can be a house, and it can be a house of study. It can also be the planet itself, and it can be your own body, your own sacred body, where you dwell. Where do you find home in your world? It could be a community that you're part of. And it is the binary transformation of life and death. So coming down from above, it's saying that you have the ability to choose life, that you have a place here, that this is currently your home, this planet, this body. It is the beginning of a thing because it's the first letter of Torah, Bereshit. It's the second letter of the alphabet, but it's the first letter of Torah. So it's been sort of elevated above to number one spot. And it means in the beginning. So it's about being in your body, being in your home, being in the planet or on the planet, and finding that new beginning wherever you are. It's the letter that rules over the day of Shabbat. So there's an affiliation with rest that comes with the Beit. And so it's okay to rest in your home. The word Shabbat itself actually has the word Beit in it. It's like shev, which means to sit, and Beit in the house. So Shabbat is a time where you rest by sitting in your home. And it's also the mouth in the body. So maybe it's time to take in some nourishing food. Says my chime that says, this divine says, yes, take in some nourishing food right now, maybe eat a soup, and also speak words of blessing into the world. I affiliate Beit with the matriarch Sarah, who was the wife of Abraham and found her home wherever she was as they traveled about, and made a home, and she invited guests in where she went. So we get to find our home right now wherever we are. That's given to us by divinity, this idea of home. In the lower right corner, what is known about our situation, we have the letter Resh, and Resh is the letter that means a head or a new beginning. It's like Rosh Hashanah or Rosh Chodesh, the head of the new year or the head of the month. So we have this beginning, and it's also right there in the word Bereshit, Beit, and then Resh next. Bereshit meaning in the beginning. So a new beginning is happening. We know that. And Resh is the letter that's affiliated with the binary transformation of seed and barrenness. So we're talking about roots here. Some seed has been planted. We can't know yet whether it's going to produce roots, but we know the seed has been planted. So this is something that's important to keep in mind. Barrenness is a possibility. It's always a possibility. We don't know what's going to happen next, but we can trust in this beginning that's happening. Resh is also the letter that rules over the planet Mercury. So there's some communication that will come that will help give us some more information. Maybe this reading itself is part of that communication. And I affiliate Resh with the matriarch Rocha because she was barren. And she hid her father's idols as they ran from Laban, her father. And so there's something about that balancing between that seed and barrenness, that she was barren for some time. They say possibly as a punishment for her stealing the idols, but the idols were sacred to her. And so she had this courage to start something new, to head off from her father's home and take with her her power. So hold on to that as an idea. There may be some kind of something that seems like it's not exactly like you'd like it to be, that the stealing of the idols has been derided over the centuries, but perhaps it was just reclamation of power by Rachel, that she started something new by taking them with her and finding a way to maintain and hold on to her worship of her feminine divine. So that's what we know about the situation. And what we don't see right now but is true nonetheless, is the letter tet. And the letter tet is a vessel. It's a container of some sort, a basket, or a cup, or a womb space. It's the number 9 in Gematria, so it's affiliated with the 9 months of pregnancy. And it's the first letter of the word tov, which means good. So we have goodness here, even though we can't see it. Underneath everything, there is some kind of gestation happening. That there is a sense of goodness that's coming out of this, and it may take some time to show or to come to fruition. That we have this seed that's been planted, but here's the womb space into which it has been planted. So even though we can't see it, roots may be growing underneath it all. And the tet is also affiliated with the snake. It looks a little bit like a snake with that tail curled around. And the snake is an ancient depiction of the goddess, one who can shed her skin and transform into something new. So there's a renewal aspect that comes with it. The number 9 being the sort of the shofar blasts that happened at high holidays in sets of 9 at the new year at Rosh Hashanah. So there's some renewal happening, some kind of gestation that's happening under the surface that we cannot yet see. Well, let's pull out 3 more and see what we have. At the bottom is the position of what is the root of the situation, or what is supporting us right now. And we have the letter He. In the upper left corner is the position of what is the fear or a challenge right now. And we have the Pei. And in the upper right corner is what is our advice for what we should be doing right now. And we have the Yud. Nice. Okay. So at the bottom of the reading, the letter He is the first letter of the word Hineni, which means here I am, ready for service. And it's the answer that one gives when one hears their name called by the divine. Here I am, present and available. It's affiliated with the sense of sight. So being able to see our way forward, or knowing what it is we're supposed to do next, is here underneath it all. But showing up, really just being present, is hugely important right now. It's the root of what is helping us the most at the bottom of this reading. It's the idea of being present, not just sitting there, but like being present and being ready for whatever it is that's coming. And sometimes we don't know what we're being asked to do until we say, yes, we'll do it. It's 2 letters of the 4-letter tetragrammaton, the divine name, the Yud He Vav He. So it shows up twice in the divine name of presence, of that sense of becoming that is the divine name of was, is, will be, requires double presence. It requires showing up and really showing up. It's the letter that is affiliated with the month of Nisan, so it's also a new beginning. The Nisan is the first month of the year in the number of months, even though Rosh Hashanah is the 7th month. Nisan is when we have the springtime. It's when we have Passover. So some new beginning is potentially here for us to have our roots put down and then grow up into the spring. So it is the letter that's affiliated with that month of Nisan, the constellation Aries, which is about the ram and the head. And also it's affiliated with the liver in the body. Now, that seems like a strange thing to say, but the liver is the largest of all the organs. And to that end, it is called keved. Keved meaning the weight or the gravitas. It's the same root as the word kavod, which means honor and glory. So what's underpinning us, what's holding us up and supporting us right now is presence, 1/2 of the divine name, showing up and really showing up, being here and available for service, and also this honor and this glory of being available and being able to see our way forward, knowing that we are supported by divinity. In the upper left corner, we have the letter Pe, and this is again the position of what is a fear or challenge in our situation. And the letter Pe is the letter that represents the mouth in the body, or the mouth of the divine actually speaking the world into existence. So when the divine said, "Let there be light," in the beginning, Bereshit. So we have the Beit, we have the Resh, we have the Pe, the mouth speaking it. And if you look, you can kind of see how the letter Beit could fit inside the letter Pe, as if that word, that letter, is coming out of the mouth of the divine. So, and the Pe is this spiral. You can see it looks a little bit like a spiral, like the breath of the divine is spiraling out of their mouth into the universe, creating with their words. And it's the number 80 in Gematria, so it has the sense of the infinite, 7 being the number of days of creation, 8 being the infinite, and this is 80, so it's 10 times that. So the ultimate manifestation of something infinite, this infinite spiral that is this the infinite one speaking the universe into existence, creating with words. It is the binary transformation of grace and ugliness. And I think of it in terms of when we speak with our mouths, it's important to speak blessings and not curses. That the way we speak and the things we say matter, and that we get to take the opportunity to say what we'd like to say and create that. And that's a challenge right now. Our challenge right now is, how do we speak blessing when things are so rough? How do we lay down roots when it seems like everything is falling apart? We need to speak about the world as we would like to see it, rather than just cursing everything that's evil. Because when we curse something, our words matter and they call in the thing that we are trying to avoid. So speak blessings right now. And it's a challenge, and we need to understand that there might be some fear around communication. There might be some fear around the infinite, that this is going to be like this forever. But nothing is like anything forever, except for the divine, who is able to create with words. And that's a thing to remember right now, that we might be afraid of the infinite, we might be afraid of the words that are being spoken, and we still have to do our part in blessing that which is coming. In the upper right corner, we have the letter Yud. And the letter Yud is the letter, this is the position of what's our advice right now. The letter Yud is the first letter of the divine name, the Yud He Vav He. And it's a seed. It's the place where we put our pen down on the paper when we're starting to write, or we're trying to engrave something. If you look closely, you'll see that every single letter has a Yud in it, because it is that one point from which all things start. So it's the seed, this atom, this sperm. It's the foundation of sexuality. So it's about planting seeds. We're putting down roots right now, but we have to plant the seeds first. It's the letter that begins the word Yad, which means hand. So we need to use our hands to do that planting. And it's the smallest of all the letters, but it has everything within it. It has all this potential. So even though it doesn't seem like much, it is the first letter of the divine name. It is the point from which all things will explode out into the universe in some kind of giant big bang. It's this seed that has the potential to create an entire tree, or to create an entire human. And it is the number 10 in Gematria, so it has to do with those 10 commandments and the 10 Sephirot, which are the divine emanations of God. And so it's got all of this wrapped up within it. And so our job here is to do our art, to create what we need to see, plant the seeds, and really trust in the divine, make things right now, make what we need to make in order to find our roots, in order to plant ourselves deep. This is a brand new start with this one point. It's the potential for everything. So our job here right now is to really just plant the seed and see where it goes. Okay, we're going to pull out one more letter for the center about what is our outcome. given the current circumstances, let's see, what's the outcome for those who chose the poppy? And we have the letter chet. Okay, and the letter chet is the number 8. So back to the pay. This is the number 8. So 7 days of creation. We have the next day is the first day of the rest of your life, right? Chet is the letter that begins the word chai, meaning life. It's the letter that begins the word choshek, which means darkness. And again, these are not in conflict with each other. Darkness is important for growth. We have to have the seeds under the ground in order for them to sprout. The roots grow beneath the surface. So life and darkness in tandem right here are what's coming out of it. We may not be able to see right now because everything's dark, but life is here. This is about contracts, commitments, covenants, chuppah, which is the marriage canopy, finding connection with others in such a way that we can create alliances. It is about being able to really speak what we need to say. It's the foundation of speech. So even though pei is the mouth, the foundation of speech is with the chet. So it really is about being able to speak our truth and to lean into the darkness, lean into the shadow. This is the darkest time of the year that we're coming into. We've got the number 8 here, which represents the 8 days after a child is born. We have the circumcision, which is this kind of horrible act that draws blood on an infant, but it represents a covenant. We're going into the time soon of Hanukkah, where we have this rededication of the temple with the 8 lights. We need to remember that regardless of how dark it gets, life is still going on. And so this is our big answer here, is that life and darkness are coexisting at this moment, and that they will continue to exist regardless of how dark it gets. So coming down from above, we have this idea of home, that we have a place that we get to exist in our body, that we get to exist here on the planet, and that there is rest in that. What we know about things is a new beginning has started, and there may be seed or barrenness. It's hard to know, but a seed has been planted. We've got that seed right above there. That what we can't see right now is the gestation. We can't see the goodness yet, but something is gestating and something is transforming. It maybe something is shedding its skin. Underpinning everything is this ability to show up and remain present, to breathe into the situation, to really trust in the infinite becoming one, and to answer, I am here and I'm ready. That what we might fear is speaking out. We might fear being able to see our way out of what seems to be an infinite situation. That we might have difficulty speaking blessings, that all we want to speak is curses right now, but it's really essential that we speak what we'd like to see in the world rather than cursing what we don't want to see. That our advice here is to plant the seed, even if we can't tell whether it's going to grow or not, even if there's no way to see whether there's going to be barrenness, even if we can't see the gestation. Plant the seed anyway, use your hand, be creative, do the thing that you need to do, and trust in the infinite divine, because there is that one point that will explode into something we can't possibly understand. And when it does, life will come. Darkness may precede that, because darkness is an important part of being able to see the light. So, for those of you who chose the poppy with the seeds, all those thousands of seeds in it, we've got this beautiful reading for you that's saying darkness may be necessary for life to grow forth. And I think it's a beautiful reading, and I'm so glad you're here to watch it, and I'll hope to see you here next time.